Let me set the stage for a dramatic scene. Indiana Jones stands nervous and sweating at the edge of a cliff face, hundreds if not thousands of feet above the ground. He needs to get to the other side where the Holy Grail is located. Not only is this the treasure that he's been seeking, but he needs this grail in order to save his father, who's been shot and is dying. Now, there's just one problem. There doesn't appear to be a way over this chasm. Fear grips him as he looks over the edge, unsure what to do. And that's when he resorts to the power of faith to overcome fear. Hi, I'm Samier Mansur, a social impact entrepreneur turned leadership and life success coach. For the last 2 decades, I've been on a journey to learn the science of joy, freedom, and success, inspired by the Holy Scriptures and of the wisdom of the great sages, thinkers, and achievers throughout history. My mission is to help you overcome your limiting beliefs that stand in the way of you achieving your absolute potential. Last week, we covered 2 of the 3 strategies to overcome fear. And in this video, I'll cover the 3rd, and what is perhaps the most important strategy, which is this: the power of faith to overcome fear. Now, you might be asking yourself, Samier, is faith really a practical strategy? That's a great question. And it's one that I hope that in the course of this video, we can explore together. More than just a nice platitude, can faith really help us overcome fear and achieve the very real and tangible goals that we have? We'll start with the idea that when we lean on faith, the game becomes rigged in your favor. Next, I'll share 3 stories that illustrate how fear was overcome when these individuals surrendered to faith. And finally, I'll present 5 ways that you can use faith to partner with the highest power and intelligence on your journey from fear to victory. If this topic resonates with you, hit the like and subscribe button, as there's much more like this to come on the channel. And with that, let's get back to the cliff where we left our dear friend, Indiana Jones. Staring into the abyss, Indiana Jones summons up the courage as he realizes the key to making it over this chasm. It's a leap of faith. He winces as he steps over the cliff face, and just as we expect him to fall over headlong into the darkness and smash into solid ground, he finds solid ground. As the camera angle shifts, we see that despite the physical evidence that convinced us otherwise, there was a bridge there this whole time. See, the bridge only appeared to the mortal senses after he took the leap of faith. Now, what lesson can we take from this? The lesson is that faith is the bridge that takes us to the other side of fear. Now, in part 1 of this video series on fear, we discussed the idea that fear is false expectations appearing real. What's happening when we feel fear? We are anticipating the worst before it even happens. It's an imagined outcome. We are doubting our ability or our worthiness to achieve our goal. Or we've forgotten our true nature as being at one with a great power that we can draw upon for support and guidance at any time. Let's explore this idea first, that when we lean on faith, the game becomes rigged in our favor. Isn't that a great thought? One of my favorite words is pronoia. It refers to the idea that the entire universe is conspiring in your favor to achieve a worthy outcome. It's like that cherished line from Pablo Coelho's famous book, The Alchemist. When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. I believe that if you have a goal or a dream, then it's your spiritual obligation to achieve it. See, life doesn't just tantalize us with these grand visions of what's possible, only to pull it away like a rug. No, that would be a cruel trick of the universe, wouldn't it? There was a 13th century theologian who once wrote, "When God inspires your tongue to ask, know that he wants to give." And similarly, the Sufi mystic Rumi famously wrote, "What you seek is also seeking you." When our goals or dreams are rooted in loving intentions to bring valuable service, joy, genuine happiness, then this is a beautiful idea that resonates with the harmony-aligned mind of God. In this resonance, we can expect to receive divine aid in the fruition of these noble ideas. We get to trust that our purpose-driven mission gets to draw from the limitless fount of support, inspiration, and even resources that makes the realization of this purpose-filled task possible. Author of the Yoga Sutras, Patanjali, who lived about 300 to 400 years before Jesus, wrote, When some great purpose inspires you, some extraordinary project, all of your thoughts begin to break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitation, your consciousness expands in every direction, and you find yourself in a new and wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties, and talents become alive within you, and you discover yourself to be a more remarkable person, far more than you ever dreamed yourself to be. When we fear, however, we doubt the nature of our intimate relationship with this limitless and loving source. We cut ourselves off from the great fount of abundant inspiration and support that wants to flow and create through us. Fear not is a reassurance and a command. The words fear not, or some permutation of it, is mentioned almost 100 times in the Old and New Testament. Now, in a collection with limited real estate, that's a lot of repetition, right? There's a reason for this. Our Heavenly Father knows that life can present its fair share of challenges, especially if we are doing something that challenges the status quo. We can draw upon this repetitive encouragement as a reminder for when times get tough, or when we're challenged with stressful situations. Can we also read the words fear not as a command? Our Creator is giving us a powerful reminder. Do not forget who you are and what you are capable of. And also, do not forget who I am and what I am capable of when it comes to assisting you. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand, it says in Isaiah 41. Even the greatest among us has faced these fears and turned to faith to overcome it. Here, I'll share 3 stories from 3 unique situations. One from the New Testament, one from the Old Testament, and one from more modern times. Let's start with Mary, mother of Jesus. When Angel Gabriel appeared before her, a humble young lady of faith from the backcountry village of Nazareth, to announce that she had been chosen to deliver Yeshua, the Messiah, Son of the Most High, to inherit the throne of King David. Can you imagine the feelings this would have induced? She, a young lady, at a time and place in history when a lady's worth was tied to her chastity? How on earth is she going to explain her pregnancy in an ultra-conservative society, a society that sometimes stoned women for relations out of wedlock? Who would believe her when she explained that she was impregnated by divine will? How will she explain this to her betrothed Joseph? And she knows all too well what happens to those who challenge the status quo at a time of great political and religious fervor and instability in the land. Would she want her child to be caught up in this? This must have been so challenging for her. Mary's initial reaction to the angel's greeting was to be troubled and perplexed. What is the meaning of this? The angel reassured her, "Fear not. You have found favor with the Lord." He adds that the power of the Most High will be with you, and that nothing is impossible with God. In other words, we understand the nature of this task that you're undertaking, and you will not be alone in this. God will be with you at all times. You do not have to fear. Trusting these words, Mary gives her willing consent for divine plan to be carried through her. She is encouraged and she is emboldened when she steps into faith. In accepting this pregnancy, she accepts everything that is going to come with it. "Let everything you have said happen to me," she tells the angel. And as beautifully and as tragically as the rest of the story unfolds, we know that it ends in victory. In the Old Testament, when Moses first encounters God, it was a terrifying experience for him. Let's take a look at what was being asked of him. He was being asked to confront the head of state of the day's leading superpower, the Pharaoh himself, and lead out of Egypt a significant population of enslaved Jews that the Pharaoh himself enslaved. Mind you, Moses was already on the run for having killed an Egyptian in defense of a fellow Hebrew many years prior. And on top of this, it appears that Moses has a speech impediment. How was he going to be God's mouthpiece with a speech impediment? "Pardon your servant," he requested of God. "I have never been eloquent. I am slow of speech and tongue." He protested his own appointment. Then God reassured him, "I will help you speak, and I will teach you what to say." You might think that Moses would be reassured after hearing this from God. But he isn't. In fact, he goes on to say something that we can all relate to. Pardon your servant, Lord. Please send someone else. We can empathize with this, right? But we know how this story unfolds as well. Some of the most powerful demonstrations of divine guidance and support were evidenced through Moses' prophetic career as he led his people out of captivity and into freedom. Now, a more modern example of a freedom warrior is Rosa Parks. This little lady from Tuskegee, Alabama, had fierce determination. When she was asked to comply with the racist segregation laws and give up her seat in a white-only section of a bus, she responded with a simple and significant no. Threatened with arrest, she replied firmly yet softly, "You may do so." At a time when such defiance came with it harsh and even life-threatening consequences, her non-violent non-compliance was an act of great courage, for which she was dubbed the mother of the civil rights movement. Now, a little-known fact is that in the years prior to this incident, she felt, according to her own words, completely alone and desolate in the civil rights work that she was engaged in. She felt as if the task of fighting for civil rights wasn't making tangible progress. She wrote that she felt as if she was descending into a black and bottomless chasm. That's a scary image, and a feeling that we can certainly understand given what she was up against. These were dark days for her. Yet something changed that day on December of 1955. Asked about this incident later, she recalled, "I instantly felt God give me the strength to endure whatever would happen next. God's peace flooded my soul, and my fear melted away. All people are equal in the eyes of God, and I was going to live like a free person." Each of these stories illuminates how we too can surrender to faith and transform our fear to courage. I'll now share 5 ways that we too can partner with power in our goals. 1. Fear is an invitation to go higher in thought. The contemplation of a great purpose or a noble endeavor may be met with some initial hesitation, fear, or resistance. In my last video, we discussed where this resistance comes from and how it can be a normal response to the unknown. Fear can even be healthy. It lets you know that navigating this task ahead is important to you and that there may be some risks involved that you get to be aware of or prepare against. See, as long as fear helps you with the preparation or strategy, then it can be healthy. However, if it's keeping you from taking action, then it's no longer productive. We get to remind ourselves of what Apostle Paul wrote. God has not given us the spirit or disposition of fear and timidity, but a power of love and self-discipline. If we find that fear or disposition of fear is stubbornly lodged within us, then it's time to call it forth by its name and replace it with its opposite, the spirit of courage, faith, and progress. Can you affirm, "Fear, I know you've been dwelling inside me, but it's time to let you go. I ask for divine support to release you and call into my life the spirit of courage, faith, and progress so that I may move forward in peace. I declare my freedom from fear now." Keep claiming this truth until you truly feel free in heart and mind to move forward. 2. Choose faith over fear. Can we feel faith-filled confidence and feel stress-inducing fear at the same time? One of these feelings is usually predominant, and we get to choose one at the expense of the other. When we choose to linger in fear, we are giving fear a certain power over us. Fear becomes the idol of mediocrity or stagnation that keeps our potential small. It prevents the unfolding of life, potential, and possibility. This is the opposite of what God or life is all about, which is the unfolding of joy and harmonious progress. In the words of 19th century author and religious teacher Mary Baker Eddy, progress is the law of God. So what step can you take next that will demonstrate this law of progress? Number 3, let go and let God. If we are still feeling anxious, can we surrender our stress and our burden and our anxiety to God? Can we let go and can we let God? See, we're not meant to do this alone. Life is going to be very challenging if we're going to brute force our own way through it. This is when we start to feel overwhelmed, rushed, tired, or exhausted. Can you instead trust in the willingness of a loving God to take your burden? Or can we at least ask God to send us help in the form of people, resources, or inspiration, or maybe a great idea? Can you boldly and humbly ask upon the throne, "Dear Heavenly Father, please take this stress, this anxiety, this fear from me. I am not meant to do this alone. Uplift me and guide me according to your will." So if you feel burdened, know that you can share and offload your struggles, your sadness, and your anxieties. You can ask for divine support. I can't tell you how many times I've had to ask for this kind of support. Sometimes I have to do it multiple times a day. I literally just do one of these. I lift my hands up over my shoulders and I say, "Lord, just take this from me. I am not meant to carry it alone." And I feel the weight being lifted off my shoulders almost immediately. Go ahead and try it for yourself. See, we get to move forward with a sense of lightness, refreshment, and joy as you carry out your purpose. This is so important. It allows you to show up to the work with fullness and a sense of your full being and presence. A loving God is standing by, listening for you to start this conversation. Ask yourself, are you ready? Do you trust? Number 4, align with divine mind. We often hear the words of affirmation. Believe in yourself with great frequency. This is important and has a great benefit in trusting yourself and your abilities. However, as we navigate uncharted territory, how far can we really see? It can feel like we're walking through a thick mist or groping our way through windy, dark, tiny corridors. Things can get really challenging, right? We've never done this before. We don't know our way through this. In other words, our perspective and vantage point is limited. We get to consciously merge our mind with the highest intelligence there is, harmonize our will with divine will. Solomon writes in Proverbs, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him," this higher intelligence, "and he will make straight your paths." It's a beautiful reassurance and a guidance. See, when we do this, we benefit from the all-knowing mind, the central intelligence behind all of creation. The higher we go in our own thought, what happens? Our vantage point becomes wider and clearer, right? If you're climbing through the misty areas and you climb to the mountain top, you're gonna have a greater perspective on what's going on around you. So our actions from this higher vantage point become more precise. We make less mistakes. And even if we do make a mistake, if we're trusting in this presence, we can be trusted that our mistakes will be corrected, our path will be corrected. Solomon's father, David, gives us a beautiful glimpse of this in Psalm 23 of what being led by divine love can look like. Now, my mentor once read this psalm having replaced the word God for love, right? Because God is love. I recall the effect that that reading had on me, and I felt it to be very beautiful, so I'm gonna do the same for you now. If it's safe to do so, go ahead and close your eyes and imagine yourself as a lamb being led through this beautiful scene by the shepherd of divine love. Love is my shepherd, and I lack nothing. Love makes me lie down in green pastures. Love leads me beside quiet waters. Love refreshes my soul. Love guides me along the right path for love's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for divine love is with me. Love's rod and love's staff, they comfort me. Love prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Love anoints my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of love forever. This is what it's like to be led by a loving God who has our best interests in mind. Not only are all our needs met, our footsteps are guided with precision, and we are comforted and refreshed and surrounded with goodness. And that takes us to number 5. Number 5, your victory is assured. That's a bold statement, isn't it? Now, thus far we've covered fear as a phrase of reassurance. We've also covered it as a command to help you remember who you really are and the power that you have access to. But can the words "fear not" also be a foretelling of success? Because if the opportunity for victory were not in the realm of significant possibility, then why would we be reassured with the words "fear not"? Are they just empty platitudes? Let's see what Moses has to say. Be strong and be courageous. The Lord himself goes before you. He will be with you. He will never leave you, nor will he forsake you. So do not be afraid or discouraged. If we believe in the first proposition of this video in Pranoia, the notion that the whole universe conspires in our success, and if we know that when we partner with power, the Lord himself goes before us, then what do we have to ever fear? How confidently would your next steps be if you knew that you could not fail, that your success has been secured in advance? Because that's the implication, right, of the Lord going before us. The paths, the difficult paths that we are afraid to walk have already been charted, and all we get to do is put our footsteps on those paths and follow into victory. Our partnership with power provides us with the very mana we need in the form of guidance, support, reassurance, or inspiration for our mission to unfold in victory. Divine love wants to see us prosper and succeed. It wants to see harmony, joy, abundance, and peace flow through us and into this world, because that is what is consistent with God's ideas for us. And we will be supported and equipped with the necessary resources to achieve these outcomes. So my final question for you is this: are you ready to take your leap of faith like Indiana Jones did? Because if you are, then I'm looking forward to seeing you on the other side.